Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey, you found it. This is Daily Dose Radio. Come on in. It's fine in here, and this is our little vegetable stand right on the side of the interweb super freeway. And I just want you to come on in 5 minutes, and we're going to look at the Word of God today. And all this week, we're looking at Psalm 129. So if you have a Bible there, why don't you grab it, and we'll read Psalm 129 together. This week, we're going to be looking at, verses 1 and 2 today, and then we'll try to get through verse 8 by Friday. Psalm 129 is another psalm in the ascents. So this is a song for those ascending. And we're looking at, the whole process really here of each step as they make their way from Meshach and the tents of Kedar all the way to Jerusalem. And they're singing these songs as they come. And today we have a song of ascent. This is not attributed to anybody, but it's just a wonderful little psalm that St. Athanasius called a psalm of thanksgiving. Well, let's look at verses 1 and 2 today. Many a time have they afflicted me from my youth, may Israel now say. Many a time have they afflicted me from my youth, yet they have not prevailed against me. What a great psalm to begin our week. Isn't that wonderful? Can you hear hope in that? This is a psalm of thanksgiving. Athanasius is right. So what a wonderful example here we have of that. Notice the repeat. We have 2 verses. We're repeating something here in 2 of these verses. Verses 1 and 2, many a time. So that's the word that begins each of these lines. We have, again, here couplets. We have a couplet in verse 1 and a couplet in verse 2, and each of these begins the same way with the same the same 3 words in each of these lines. Many times, or we could translate this, much. We could translate this, much have they afflicted me from my youth. So that would be another way to translate. That would be maybe a wooden translation that I would give you. Much have they afflicted me from my youth. And then the second line, much have they afflicted me from my youth. Well, who's the they? Well, we're going to go back now in the history of the people of Israel all the way back to Egypt when Israel was a child. When Israel was a young lad, the Lord called him up out of Egypt. And in that time, guess what was happening to him? He was afflicted. So the afflictors were there. This particular word, the word that we're translating affliction, John Mason Neal, he translates it, fought against me in verse 1, and let's see, what else has he got? Vexed me in verse 2. So it's an interesting word, this particular word. It has 3 verbal forms. It has, oh golly, how many noun forms do we have here? We have 1... It's an adjective. 2, 3, 4 different nouns that can be created from this particular word. In one verbal sense, it means to be straitened or restricted. In another sense, it means to show hostility towards or to vex, which is a good translation. So Mason Neal's translation of vexing is good. It means, in its noun form, it means a strait or distress. It means, it means adversary or foe. The psalmist loves this particular word. We saw it in Psalm 119, and we've seen it all throughout the Psalter. And here we have it again. Those that afflict, vex, or straiten the child of God. That's who he's talking about. Began with Egypt for Israel, went all the way up through the time of Christ when the Romans were afflicting them. And then now for the church, the enemy of the church has been doing the same thing, afflicting. So he says, let Israel now say. This is something that we all need to remember, that afflictions come. And so it's time for us to confess the affliction, but then know that the very last phrase here, they have not prevailed against me, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Now join me again tomorrow. We're going to look at verse 3, and the plowers are going to plow upon our backs on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.